All right, so I'm really excited about doing this next step on the Model A. It's one of the most fun things to do as a metal fabricator and building hot rods, and something that I don't actually get to do that often is real metal shaping. Actually creating compound curves, using the power hammer, using the different machines to get a cool shape. A lot of things are, you know, flat and bead rolled and that type of fabrication. But the next part is building this distributor cove so that we have clearance for the distributor on the firewall, as well as the transmission tunnel. There's gonna be a compound curve right at the end here. There's gonna be a compound curve right at the top here. What I mean by a compound curve, for those of you that don't know, it's a curve that goes both ways. It's not just a roll where you take a piece of flat sheet metal and you put a curve in it a single way to make an arch. It's curved more than that. It's curved both ways. So it's like a hemisphere or a dome, much more difficult shape to make. And in order to do so, we have to use a little bit different equipment than what we've been using so far on this floor and firewall. And that's what this whole video is gonna be about. And we're starting with the wire buck. And what a wire buck is basically, it looks like a bird cage that you make before you do any shaping so that you know what shape to make your panels to. So what I'm actually gonna do is create a border with 1/8 welding wire. I learned this trick from Christian Sosa Metalworks, really cool guy. And it's 1/8 welding wire that you actually form into a perimeter around this whole area that we're gonna be shaping. And then I'll be doing, you know, arches that give us the profile from left to right. And I will also do, you know, pieces that give us the profile front to back. And what I'll be left with at the end of this is a perfect representation of what my panel needs to fit in order to create the shape I want and I desire to have on this distributor cove and transmission tunnel. So the first step is just to bust out the 1/8 wire and start bending. One thing I want to note is that if you're trying this at home, it's very important to bend the wire to the perfect shape and not bend it where there's tension on it and then tack it. We're gonna be tacking these wires together, and the heat from welding them to each other, it's kind of like how a shopping cart, all the wires are, they're welded together where they touch. So when we use a MIG welder to weld the wires together where they touch, that heat that's created, if there's any tension in that arch that you've put into the metal, it will distort your shape. Maybe I should give it a little demonstration of what I mean, because it's very important that your actual shape that you want, you have to bend that into the wire so that the wire, without you touching it, is the correct shape, not bending it and putting force on it, you know, and holding it in that shape. The shape's not in the wire and it will distort when you weld it. So let's get into that. All right, we've made a little bit of progress. I've got a couple of the key pieces done on the buck itself. The 1/8 welding wire, we've carefully done our border, and a couple of extra key profiles to the buck. When you're doing this, I just want to kind of explain, like I was saying earlier, about almost like a demonstration. With this welding wire, if I'm trying to make, say, a radius, I'm just gonna kind of use my thumb and try and get, you know, a smooth radius started in this. But see how it's holding its shape? You could make the same radius by just bending it, but if you bent this and tried to tack weld that, wherever that tack weld happened, it would just kink right away because it's under tension. So if I want this radius, I have to make this radius so that the wire is holding onto that shape when it gets tacked. That way, the shape that you put in is the shape that will stay there. So just make sure that you're not bending it and then tacking it. Have it bent and then tack it. So the next part of this, to finish off this wire buck, is to continue making a bunch more of these bends and just following the profile all the way down. So I'm probably gonna do, say, 3 or 4 rows in each section of this transmission tunnel distributor cove. And these 3 sections that I've got, I'm gonna make it a little bit easier to see. So I've got one section here, which is really where the distributor cove is. We've got here, which is kind of like the top of the transmission tunnel. And then we've got here, which is the body of the transmission. So we got 1, 2, 3 different panels, 3 different angles. They will be 3 different pieces. So as this wire buck is finished, I will then template it, transfer it to metal, and I will create 3 pieces separately and then weld them at these seams. The reason being is, number one, it's very difficult to add a sharp shape by stretching to try and make this out of one piece. It just doesn't make sense. So to make it easier, we make it out of 3 pieces. That's just the right way to do it. The other thing, and the other reason why I want to make it out of 3 pieces, is because I would like to have 3 different bead rolled panels within that. So each of these will be a bead rolled panel as well. And what I can do with my roller is I can roll, 1 inch away, just like how everything else is in the floor of this Model A. I can do a panel section in each one of these. I wouldn't be able to do that if this was all welded together in one piece. So I'll have to do that after I've shaped each section and before I weld them together. Right now, we're just gonna finish up these wire pieces and remove this buck so that you can see what it looks like complete and out of the vehicle, and how we're gonna be able to use it to template our next step. Alright, so we got the herringbone structure all done on the top side of this buck. I've got about 2-inch squares in between all these pieces of wire for the buck. Now, this top side is very strong. It's welded every 2 inches. It's got a lot of structure. The bottom side, or the flat part of this 3-dimensional wire buck, is not yet strengthened up. I've got a couple of braces kind of going across, connecting the border together, but this border is very important that it keeps its shape and that it does not twist when we take this out of here. So it's got a few tacks that we got to break to pop it out. It's a 1/8 thick wire buck. It could twist. What if you dropped it? What would happen then? Would you know that it goes back perfectly? Let's just tack a few spots of wire, maybe across in a couple of places, to make sure that we, protect our investment of time of making this wire buck. And then after that, we're gonna cut the tacks and pop it out, and I'll be able to show it to you in my hands. So we get one right across here. Let it back. All right, well that finishes up our video on the wire frame, the wire buck here, the 1/8 welding wire. The important thing to remember is just that when you make your bends, you want them to be not under any tension. That's the most important thing if you're gonna do this. That's really all you need to know. If nothing's under tension and these pieces are touching each other, it's really easy to weld them. If they're under tension when you're trying to get these welds done, they just end up moving as soon as the heat hits it. So that's my number one tip, that if you don't know that, it's not gonna work. You can make any shape with this type of a frame. You can go as crazy as you want, and your paper pattern will show you where those spots are. And that is the next video, is the paper pattern. So don't forget to subscribe, like, hit notifications, and check out our upcoming videos and the continuation of the Model A build. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next time.